For those of you born after 1988, Donald Trump may very well seem like the worst president this country has ever had. And that is fair. We all have a pretty limited set of data. History might suggest that Andrew Jackson and James Buchanan might be up in that running too. Maybe even Woodrow Wilson or Richard Nixon could make a case for that title. And I'm no historian, and I'm not here to crown a king of biggest dookie in the Oval Office, but allow me today to at least make a case for Ronald Reagan. Putting aside his destruction of unions, welfare programs, and voting rights while skyrocketing military spending on a Star Wars missile defense program that I don't think ever really worked, and trading arms for hostages, which he did before he was even president, which makes Hunter Biden's laptop look like an overdue library book. By the way, Reagan began the destruction of libraries too. He also ratcheted up the war on drugs, which took an unprecedented toll on Black and brown people all across the country. But you know what Reagan did not do? He didn't do shit about AIDS. Well, he laughed when it was mentioned to him. AIDS was not a problem for Reagan because the two groups it hit hardest were gay men and African Americans. Why would Ronald Reagan give two fucks about them? The Republican base sure doesn't. Still doesn't. So here's some information from the CDC. In 1981, AIDS is discovered. There are only 26 known cases. By 1990, over 100,000 people will be dead from the disease. It's not even until 1984 that we know that HIV is the cause of AIDS. The CDC is constantly asking for extra funding to research the plague. None is coming. Prevention measures are left to individual states and communities. It's spread primarily through unprotected sex and shared needles. Reagan's administration is pro-abstinence, not pro-condom use, and they certainly have no time for needle exchange programs. By 1986, Black women made up 51% of all women with AIDS. Less than 12% of the population in 1986 is Black. By 1990, Black men and women will comprise more new infections than whites, and this trend will never stop. 1987, fashion designer Willie Smith dies of AIDS. 1989, choreographer Alvin Ailey. 1992, athlete Arthur Ashe. 1995, rapper Eazy-E. 1997, musician Fela Kuti. 2001, poet Gil Scott-Heron. In 1993, HIV becomes the leading cause of death for Black men between 25 and 44, and the second leading cause of death for Black women in that same age group. Of course, not a single act was passed by Congress to help with AIDS education and research until 2 full years after Ronald Reagan left office. This week's film, Death by Temptation, came out the same year as the CARE Act to provide federal funds for care and treatment of AIDS victims, 1990. It's an all-Black cast in a parable about sexual temptation and the violence that sexuality can wreak not only on a single person, but an entire community. Death by Temptation is preachy and kind of one note, but this is entirely because AIDS was a Black plague as well as a gay one. It's no mistake that this movie's most creative and terrifying scene centers around Ronald Reagan, the devil himself. Hi, Cecil.
Hi, Jeffrey.
That was a pretty bleak intro, so let me bring some levity back and just ask, what's your favorite 1980s music video?
Oh, my favorite 1980s music video. I mean, I love animation, so Sledgehammer was definitely, like, whenever that came on MTV or VH1, I had to watch the raw chickens lay eggs and then dance and show me around your fruit cage.
That's really funny because that's exactly the one I had in mind for myself too.
Yeah.
Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer.
Well, that one was great. I also love the land of confusion with more Reagan.
That's what made me think of this
Reagan's
question. Yeah, puppet Ronald Reagan, which plays into this movie. Shit.
And the sad Ronald Reagan pulling on his Superman tights next to Nancy to go out and but old man Superman.
Oh my goodness. Cecil, I was unable to find a guest for this week's show, but I did find a podcaster, an actor, an aerialist, and Random Horror Nine's resident blood-sucking expert. I found us a Symphony Sanders. Hi, Symph.
What up, succubi?
Hey. Succubuses.
Yes. Actually, the male of a succubus is an incubus, which is also a great band that I like.
They did the theme song for South Park, right? Isn't that Incubus? Did the theme for South? I could be totally wrong.
Incubus.
Somebody fact check on that, but I'm pretty sure no.
The Incubus.
Pride Primus. It was Primus. I'm so
There you go.
sorry.
I knew you'd get there eventually.
It wasn't us.
It wasn't us. This is us. The soundtrack to South Park.
Showing my ass that I listened to neither band.
That's okay. That's
Symphony, do you
okay.
have a favorite 80s music video?
Oh, yeah, the Take on Me one, the
Oh,
one
yeah.
from, because it's like it goes from kind of an animation, but like drawn animation, and they like bust through into the real world, and it's also a little bit about fantasy, which happens a lot in this movie.
It does.
Especially in the beginning with the okay, I'm just gonna tell you, my bed, I know people at home can't see this, but my bed is similar to that lady's, except for instead of a white curtains, it's blue, like see-through ones.
I love
But
that.
do you have your bed in the middle of your living room?
I do not. I also don't just like live in an abandoned like brownstone or whatever. There's nothing else going on in that building except she like just inhabits the second floor. Although that is probably what I thought I was going to live in when I was a kid. Like I'm like, I'm going to move to the city and I'm going to live in one of these really cool like places. Nobody can afford those.
Unless you're a succubus.
Or unless you're
Well-
Lawrence Fishburne, because apparently that's who owns that house.
What?
That was Lawrence Fishburne's house?
That's
Wow.
according to internet trivia, so we'll
I
just
love it.
roll with that as fact checked. I also thought Incubus did the South Park theme. So
Incubus. You know that famous Incubus song. Going down to South Park, going to bring a friend of mine.
This movie is full of black stars, like pretty much. There's a couple like people who've been in like so many different movies that you would recognize from other movies that are traditionally black, and I loved that, especially, I'm sorry, Kadeem Hardison. I was like, oh my god.
Oh yes,
Or better as I know him, Dwayne Wayne.
of course.
Yeah.
For a different world. I just was thrown off the entire time that he didn't have those
He didn't
double
have the
glasses.
Yes.
He couldn't punctuate things by like, what was his
Flipping
girlfriend's name? What was his girlfriend's name?
Whitley.
Whitley. Oh my god, she had the best voice.
Dwayne.
But he's so good in this.
He's very good in this.
He's like 110% charisma.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And Radio Raheem. Radio Raheem is in this, getting to like play such a different character from Do the Right Thing.
Absolutely. I actually can't watch Do the Right Thing anymore because it makes me so sad what happens to Radio Raheem like in that movie. It just like every time it just like breaks my heart. Which is what Spike Lee meant for that movie, but their acting was so fun in comparison to the main character. I say that in quotation marks. He was so annoying. But he was like also, I guess, the person who produced this movie.
Yeah, like produced, directed it, wrote it, starred in it
for his dad and his grandpa in memory.
Yeah,
did you see that at the end?
I did.
I was like, oh,
all right.
I was like,
James
wow.
Bond the Third.
Yeah.
James Bond. That's what it was. I was like, what kind of fucking James Bond? I was like, LOL,
third.
That's funny. But the third,
003.
Cecil, you're a third.
I am. I'm 003, but I'm not James Bond.
Maybe
Cecil
that's what I'll call you
Baldwin,
from now.
003. I'd also feel like Bill Nunn has played a cop in like legit every television show on network television. Like he's like, like as soon as he came on, I was like, oh yay. But then the minute he's like that guy character actor, he's like your next door neighbor, the friendly cop that comes in and investigates and then disappears.
Yep. He's got
the type of actor I aim to be.
Hell yeah.
He's also got he reminds me a lot of like what is it, Roman Roy on Succession, in that he's got the worst lines but also the best lines. Like like he just seems like the worst person in the world but also the funniest.
but I love his character arc as well.
I do too.
And also, we'd be remiss, Mr. Samuel L. Jackson,
of course.
Oh my
of
gosh.
everything. The man who owns everything.
And him playing a preacher, I'm waiting for Ezekiel 25:17.
Yeah, I actually, in my notes I wrote that. I was like Samuel L. Jackson, and then I go, oh, he's dead.
And immediately dead.
Yeah.
Although I love
That's all they could afford.
his comeback at the end, in which you could tell they're like, he's only been given 6 lines, and he is going to make the most out of those 6 lines when he's like, son, the word is the power. Like, okay, the word is the power. It's like acting through the script. Masterclass.
It took James Bond way too long to get that. And wait, but his name was Joe or Joel? I couldn't tell from
with an
okay. I know, because I was like, are they saying Joel? Because like sometimes when people say Joel, the L gets kind of like swallowed.
Yeah.
So unless you say Joel, I can't like determine. So I'm always like Joe. The entire movie, I was like Joel.
Are you Joe? Are you Joe?
You're Joel.
You know, it doesn't matter, because in this bar, everybody has a different name. Everybody has a different job every night.
Mm-hmm.
He could have a totally different name every time he shows up.
That guy was just I was like, oh, this pickup artist. He keeps, but I guess in the 80s or early 90s, like people just didn't, you could just tell him any old thing and it's not fact checkable because you didn't have a phone. So you can't be like, oh, you weren't in that movie with Bruce Lee or whatever the hell.
You're not a stunt car driver?
You're not a kung fu surgeon?
I love Kung Fu Surgeon.
That was the flippin' best. But like I'm doing, no, I am. I mean, I am a surgeon, but just on kung fu hands.
I always wonder when I assume that this is only men that come up to women and lie about like what they do. I don't know if women do that. Maybe, but I've never. But this is like I think it's like a trope though, right? Like you just lie about like what you're doing to get somebody into bed or like whatever. I mean, like I'm a basketball player or something. But I've never lied. Have you ever lied about what you do?
No, not in an exaggerated way. I mean, like I kind of do it for the opposite thing of like I don't really want to talk to somebody. So like, what do you do?
I'm
just like, oh, I work in tech.
Yes. Well,
I'm
like when you're talking to like an Uber driver or something,
yeah.
and you don't want to explain your whole life. Because I've made the mistake sometimes. Like, where was I? In LA or something? I was in an Uber, and they were like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "I'm a voice actor. I do podcasts." And they were like, "Oh, I wrote a podcast," and I'm like, "Jesus Christ!"
45 minutes later.
Yeah, I'm like, this is gonna be a long ass ride.
Yeah.
That's my pitch for the all peanut butter and jelly podcast. And you're like, 1 star, get me out of here.
Yeah. My Uber job when people ask is I'm a freelance writer. And that just kind of like numbs. Oh, what kind of stuff? I just whatever. It doesn't really matter. Just like things come up and I write them and get paid a couple bucks. So, then that way it's just it's super boring. I don't sound like I have any enthusiasm for it. Nobody wants to continue the conversation.
Freelancer.
Yeah.
It's so vague. Nobody has any follow-up questions.
No,
because they don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I work for money, like money.
I'm gonna start telling people I'm an MMA fighter just to get to the confusion of it all.
I'm gonna tell people I'm an MMA fighter surgeon. So you may not have seen me, but I'm the one fixing up all those hotties when they beat the stuffing out of each other.
Literally. Then you get the eyes in the rearview mirror, like, oh, really? They like look at you and you're like, yep, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, correct, 100%.
So
Cecil.
Go ahead,
sorry,
Tim.
Cecil and I have a game that we play sometimes, because sometimes we'll have to take planes, and it was somebody will inevitably sit by you and be like, oh, so what do you do? And we're like, hi, my name's Joella, and I'm a arborist from Tampa.
My name is Mitchell, and I am a light healer from Tucson.
I love that. Do you ever run into people who are like, I'm from Tucson, what part of town?
Oh,
North, southeast. The upper, lower, middle.
Uh-huh.
The mid to late 20s. What? Huh? Oh, look, a beverage cart. But really, it's like I mean, I get so much amusement from this because it's so generic that like when you have to interact with people and you're like, okay, this could either be, I could be meeting the love of my life if my life was some sort of, rom-com.
yeah.
Or I could be in for a very long cross-country flight if this person has a lot of follow-up. So just really first name, where you're from, and pick an occupation.
I like that. I think that's a really good approach. I sometimes on flights, though, I have ended up in conversations with people, and sometimes they end up good, and it teases me to think that this is always going to be good, that I can have a real conversation with a person. And it just takes one good conversation to think, oh, I'll do this next time. If somebody talks to me, I'd love to talk to them. And then it just all goes south. So let's talk about this movie. This is a Troma film. I had forgotten this, that it's not created by Troma. It was just distributed by Lloyd Kaufman and the whole Troma enterprise. And it has some real like Troma vibes to it. Like it's super low budget. It's a very gritty city sort of thing. It's got some cheap ass but plentiful blood and splattery effects. And it's got a couple of like not overwhelming, but like pretty okay, like set piece makeup moments,
Yeah.
So yeah.
My favorite thing about especially Troma and like this sort of 90s era of independent filmmaking is like all the interiors are during the day and all the exteriors at night because nobody had any money to get permission to film during the day. So they're like, okay, we're just gonna go to like the Lower East Side at 2:00 in the morning and pray there's nobody there and just shoot, and then get the fuck out. So then and then all the interiors are all inside. Or all the interiors are all during the day.
You can shoot in an alley where somebody's like running away. It's like, nobody will probably be there and we can wait for them to clear or like wave some people away from the alley for a little while. But like, so good.
But this has got some. Oh yeah.
Oh, and yet, I found the greatest blooper in this movie. It's one that like you read about when but I actually found one on my own and I feel so blessed. #blessed. During Temptress's first snack with the bartender, it's a big long shot and they're, making all this sexy times. There is straight up some white dude with a big mustache who looks like his name is Dick Buttkiss in the background in the hallway watching the entire scene.
When he's like running away?
It's like right before that, like literally right before that. No, it's like the long, like they're still sort of seductive.
Before they go to the shower.
There is some mustache dude in the hallway of the building, just like, this is real sexy. And he looks like a ghost, which is why I paused. But I was like, nope, there is straight up and he's just casually just watching.
Just a crew member.
Or a neighbor.
Can we talk about it? Could be. He's like, this is my house.
He's like, I live here.
No, it's Lawrence Fishburne's groundskeeper or something. So in the beginning, I just want to talk about this guy for a second because like the opening scene, I was like, okay, here we go. The guy, he's a bartender, obviously, and like he is talking on the phone. Apparently, some bitch he's done dirty.
Dialogue is...
And he's like, just get an abortion. I'll pay for it. I was like, damn.
Wow.
Cold-blooded. He's like, all right, baby, I gotta go, baby. I was like, wow. And then gets on the phone with another chick.
Yeah.
He also was giving heavy Billy D vibes.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
But he was not Billy D, because Billy D
No.
would not be so rude.
So
Mm-mm.
cavalier with the
No.
ladies.
Such a cad.
He took all the wrong lessons from Billy D. Williams.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he did look great, though.
Yeah, he looked
did.
great. And you see his wiener
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
when he
Yeah.
runs away. When they go, so he gets with the lady and
Mhm.
she's like smoking her little skinny ass cigarette.
My God, like her merit menthol light 120.
Every woman I know who smokes cigarettes like that would smoke it so the ash would get like really long.
Yeah.
And and it never would fall off because it was like so skinny. Did you like, have you ever smoked one of those? I mean, when I was young and smoked cigarettes, I smoked one of those once. I'm like, what is this? You're just like, it's like sucking through one of them tiny straws.
It's like a little swizzle stick. My friend's mom smoked those, and when she caught me and my friends smoking normal ass adult cigarettes, she was like, did the whole thing where she made us go back to their apartment, and she sat down and made us smoke a pack of Merit Menthol Light 120s or 100s.
Oh no!
And they were those. It was like Mystique or whatever the fuck those cigarettes were. And we're just sitting there, we're like, I know you think this is punishment, but really this is just a relaxing afternoon after school right now.
Yeah, you seem like a cool mom.
Yeah, you seem like a cool. And she was like so frustrated. She's like, God, get out of my house.
And you smoked my whole pack of cigarettes.
That's right.
We're like, oh, sorry.
But yeah, so she's smoking her sexy ass cigarette, and she was like, and it literally took 2 seconds for her to be like, come back to my place. And he's like, yeah, okay, I'll leave this bar that I'm tending.
Right.
Did he close the bar?
I think he left it because there's the other bartender. So I can only guess that he just left it in charge, left the other dude in charge of the bar.
I know these two women. And I also love, like, when he's like chatting on the phone with one of his many women, some random person is like, hey, can I get in on that action? And he's like, no. You got to find your own harem of like 1 a.m. booty calls.
Yeah, it's not a sup text. It's just like somebody be like, hey, baby.
There were no booty. There was no texting. There was no Facebooking. There was no Instagramming. You just had to take people at face value.
Yeah.
Like, my name is James. And I'm a paper manufacturer.
Oh, nice.
From Waukegan.
Oh,
I love Illinois. What part of Waukegan? What neighborhood?
The South Northeastern.
I went to Lee High School.
Right on the edge.
Oh, okay.
Right on the edge.
Lake Michigan, right on the edge.
Right in the lake. Beautiful views.
One thing I was wondering, okay, so she gets him back to her house.
Yep.
Her house. Or she tells him where she lives because she's already there.
I have questions about that as well, Symphony. I was like, is she giving her address, her phone number?
Yeah. She must have given, because she was already there, so he must have come over after his shift or whatever. Yeah. This is what I'm going to assume, that he's a responsible bartender and closed the bar and then came over to this random bitch's house. And he goes in there. It's all misty in there. I wouldn't go.
So misty. Like, he walks in, he's like, oh, your door is open. I was like, yeah, you're letting all the smoke in.
I was going to say, you need a radon detector in that house. What is happening?
We are talked about the giant bed in the very middle of the room, but also the like sort of churchy candle holder. I was like, ooh, somebody's into wax play.
But also, like, that bed, the bedding on it, had it been the bedding that when she took that Norman guy back there, that would have been, but he was rubbing that bed and it was like blue and white, like nautical. It looked like a little kid's, like the comforter. I was like, it's blue and white. I'm like, this is like a nautical theme. And he was rubbing it like it was the finest, most luxurious, whatever. And I was like, girl, where's your satin sheets? If you're going to seduce somebody.
Yeah.
He did call her a freakazoid, though.
I love hot.
I loved that.
Freakazoid. It's so good.
Like, and we have the new Grinder profile headline.
Hot-natured freakazoid.
I love the
I
detail when
love
he
that.
sees her mirror is covered. He's like, now why would she want to cover her mirror? I was like,
That's so
I know.
weird.
I teacher, I have my hand up.
Also, but if you were a succubus and you or whatever, and you knew
Just
your
not
reflection
have a
was not,
mirror.
why would you have a mirror in the house?
Toss that shit out into the street.
It would be sexier than it just like have art or something on the wall. Stupid. Otherwise,
Lawrence Fishburne wouldn't allow it to be moved.
Like, you leave that mirror there.
Her makeup is incredible for somebody who has no reflection. Also, so
well, she just
good
had to
job.
pop on a little lip and
Yeah.
eyeliner.
It looks nice
Yeah.
though. I mean, it's not
Oh,
all like
how-
smudged and shit. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, it seems evenly distributed.
No,
across her face.
you're right. Jeffrey, I can do my makeup. I could probably do my makeup without a mirror, some of it, but I'm a professional and I've done my makeup on buses, in a van, like all over the place. But even like cutting, like doing like eyeliner like that would be difficult.
Yeah.
You
I was
know,
gonna say there's gonna be some rustic. You may do a great job without a mirror. There's probably a lot of people who can do a great job with, but there's gonna be a rustic quality to some of the lines, I would think.
yeah,
Yeah.
Little smoky
Or
eye the next day, kind of.
Yeah.
look.
yeah, or at least uneven. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
But like that, hers was on point with her like low sampoku eyes. She was just like, oh. Very, very lustful.
All right, so we're gonna cut back. Oh well, we're gonna go to the shower.
Yeah.
She's gonna tie
Yeah.
a belt around his neck. It's gotta. Is she
Okay.
gonna choke it
Now-
out? Is she gonna?
now
What is she
listen.
gonna do?
I feel like this is the PSA portion of the podcast. Like, don't do that.
No.
Yeah,
like,
it's not
don't.
good.
I was hanging out with a friend of mine. I was like, your blood vessel in your eye is like popped. And he's like, yeah, me and this dude were getting into some choke play. And I was like, you need to pull back, my son.
Yeah.
My
you
favorite,
need-
though, is when she starts licking the belt.
Okay, yes. She
Like licking
licks a
him
lot of
through
stuff.
the belt.
I
Licking
was
the
like,
belt.
what the fuck is she doing? Yeah, no,
Oh,
the
she needs to
licking
go for
of
walkies.
the belt.
It's time for walkies.
Look, she licks a lot of stuff in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's not as sexy as I think she thinks it is. To me, I'd be like, what the fuck is this bitch doing licking the belt for? Like, it's just it's the underside, the rough bit. It's not okay, do whatever. She's a real freakazoid. But she leads him past the bed, and I'm like, where's she going?
Yeah,
But she takes him
Dick
to the
Butkus
shower.
had to go see what's up.
When she takes him to the shower, he still has the belt on his neck.
Oh, I'm like, that will ruin a leather garment.
Right?
It's
But
terrible for
and
leather.
how'd she get the blood to be pumping in the pipes?
Unclear.
Water
very
for a little
unclear.
bit,
Yeah.
then blood. That don't make no
I would love to see and the Incubus Super
Yes.
kind of short film in which is just her
Yeah.
like doing repairs with her, I don't know, presumably like evil minions,
Mhm.
you know, tightening bolts and things like that. And she's like, hey, turn it on now. Nope, still blood. All right.
Unhooking the
let's try
hot
this.
water heater to the
Yep.
hot blood heater. Yeah, sure.
It's like, oh, this is perfect for my next one. Can you guys recreate this? Like, it'll start out water and we'll get it hot and heavy, and then the blood, but without turning off the water. Like,
Sure.
it's just gonna like pump in. So it's got to have some sort of like valve, maybe,
Yeah,
that
so
you
have like
open
water,
and then the blood comes in.
blood.
Well, what you do is you run water through the shower, and then what you do is you switch it over to the blood tank. The
Oh.
water that first comes out is just left in the pipes from the last use.
Oh,
and then
yeah,
the
yeah.
blood will
Oh.
just
It's like there's still
out.
water in the
Yeah.
hose when you turn the hose on. That's all
Yeah,
warm.
totally.
You know,
So when you
but
hook
you have to
That
wait.
makes
it up
sense.
to the blood bib on the outside of your house to blood your lawn, there's gonna be a little water first. Yeah.
I bet they live near the Gowanus Canal.
I bet they do too.
That's not blood, it's just rust.
Uh-huh.
That's exactly it.
That's super fun to shower. Well, they start getting it on. Blood from the shower head. He is now screaming and trying to run away, and he
Yeah.
do not make it.
Yeah.
The last thing we see is the outside of her bedroom door and just blood pouring out from under it while we hear snack sounds. Yum, 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 yum.
Yep. She's a messy eater.
She is.
Yeah,
Very
she
elegant, but a
is.
messy eater.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get some background on Joel with an L at the end there. We've got young Joel growing up in North Carolina. Cecil, this is your movie, North Carolina and Brooklyn.
That's where I live.
And we've got his father, Minister Garth, played by Sam Jackson. And I love that Sam Jackson is just preaching in this giant church with only his son in the audience. His son and a woman in black that just is apparently
Who
is a
levitates
ghost.
from the floor.
Yes.
Yeah, mistily standing behind the son, making weird gestures. Also, was he practicing his preaching? Is that why the son was there? But why was he wearing a suit?
I thought it was a dream.
I think you're right. I think it's a dream. It's got to be.
But this, like, so the preaching, the mysterious woman in black, but then all of a sudden we cut to a car and Samuel Jackson's driving and he's with his wife and she goes, "There's a woman," and he just hits and they all die. And it happens that fast.
It's very quick. We get right to that exposition.
Is Joel? Wait, oh no, okay. No, because now we get voiceovers saying Joel's like, "When my mother and father died,
yeah,
my grandmother raised me," and I was like, "Oh, okay, so we're just backstory."
Yeah,
I think it all is a dream because there's a lot of moments where Joel or Grandma wakes up. Like, I think there's this idea of, I think with certain Christians too, there's this concept too of that you would have prophetic dreams, that God would speak to you through these things. And so, we have Joel waking up, adult Joel waking up from this nightmare. But he, with his parents dead, was raised by his grandma. And,
you mean info dump grandma?
Grandma is pure info
I was like,
dump.
thank God, because that dream sequence was confusing. Thank God grandma's like, "You are my grandson." I like really just laid it all out. Just like, you're in preacher school and you have to decide. I was like, great, yes, grandma, just give me all the facts.
So he's blessed from birth. They knew it. He's going to complete his evangelistic training this summer. But she warns him, when you're one step away from your goal, when you're almost there, that is a crossroad. And it's up to you to look both ways. Thanks, Grandma. Well, you know what I'm going to do?
I was taught look three ways.
Wait, which? Left, right?
And then left,
and then
again.
back.
And then left again. Okay.
To make sure that a car didn't sneak up on you when you were looking the other way.
Yeah, of course. I was like left, right, and up in case of like helicopters.
Left, right, and up, just in case there's something falling from the sky. Oy vey.
So he's gonna move to New York City, though. He's gonna move in with his friend Kay, played by Kadeem Hardison.
Oh man,
Dwayne Wayne.
Was he moving, or was he just? I thought he was just visiting, just to see, kind of like, not Rumspringa, but kind of like be like, is this really the life for me? Like,
I got the sense that it was like a long-term visit or a short-term move, like that sort of thing, like maybe a couple months,
like for a season.
Yeah, that's
okay.
It. Yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking too. But we also we're gonna meet Dougie, Bill Nunn. We're gonna meet the player.
So perfect. Like you nailed it in that, like, these lines are so ridiculous. What is coming out of his mouth, and it's so amazing that they got like a heavy duty quality actor to like make it believable, who just like, yes, I am just like the saddest pickup artist ever. So hilarious. Yeah, the kung fu surgeon. Crack it up.
My favorite line in there, when he's talking about girl's butt, and then he says he's like, "You're like that Cameo lyric." Ow.
Ow.
Ow. You got that explosive booty.
Oh,
you got that explosive.
Boom.
I That's the
And
lyric.
then and this is later. This is later, and then it cuts, and there's no one in the bar with him. He's just practicing
right.
by
rehearsing.
himself.
Yeah,
I love it. Love it.
I'm with Cameo now.
Ow.
Ow.
Oh man.
If
So
you don't know who Cameo is, look it up.
yeah, just word up. There you go.
Yeah.
That's not all you need to know, but that's a great starting point.
That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Love that song.
It's so funny watching, like, okay, so you're trying to like mac on chicks, and you go to the same bar every single night, and you tell people outlandish lies, not like I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a business person, but like I'm a test pilot or like some shit, like crazy shit.
It's got a different story every time.
And you don't think that eventually people are going to catch up? Like, and I love it that these like women are just like, oh, is that what he told you? Because he told me that he was a kung fu surgeon just the other day. So weird. That's weird.
We also so we're gonna watch our temptress take a few more men home with her. We're gonna meet Norman, the married man. We see him take off his ring as he enters.
Norman,
maybe take off your ring before you enter the bar.
Before you're standing in full view of everyone in the bar,
in the doorway,
just like taking in the scene, taking off your ring, like it could have only been worse if he said giggity giggity. You know what I mean?
It's true. It's true. He was so eager. He's like, oh, look at this champagne conversation. He's like, I'm having champagne. Yeah, but if you want some, we can just get a bottle.
And then when she starts suggesting the champagnes that are actual champagnes, he was like, no.
Crystal.
I'm like, one, if you're broke, just say that.
I know.
Also, Andre is not champagne. It is a sparkling wine. And you would know that, you boob.
I've never had Cristal. Is it good?
It's fine.
It's fine.
I'm not much of a champagne person, so I've never really had any like fancy champagne before.
I think I've had lots. I love champagne.
I've had like a glass or two of fancy champagne, but normally it's like headachy New Year's Eve champagne.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it's always like friggin' like it is usually like Andres or some sort of like bubbles that are also like generally too sweet or have a ton of like sulfates or something that are gonna make your head go womp womp womp. But like
that was for real.
Like a Dom Perignon is actually quite nice. Veuve is fine. Perrier Jouet, I've had all this. Cristal, I think it's like kind of overrated, to be honest with you, because like most of the time, if you bought it for yourself, like from a Benny's, it would be like a lower vintage would probably be about $150. But like a nicer vintage is like $250. But like in a bar, you're gonna pay like $500.
Crazy
markup.
Bottle. Yeah.
Crazy markup.
It's like the in tequila Casamigos is that where it's like a $60 bottle of tequila that is the real value is like $19.99. Like it's just cheap tequila, but it's got George Clooney's name on it. So we're like, yes, and it's like the tequila that everybody has to have. It feels like a status symbol to order because it's so expensive. Because
you're paying for the bottle and the look.
Yes, the popularity of it. Yeah.
Yes.
Even though it's just vanilla extract.
Just really, that's all it is. Is that all tequila is vanilla extract?
That's all Casamigos is. Yeah.
Interesting. Now, Symphony, I don't know if you remember, but there was a year, like a good year in college, where I drank nothing but mimosas at parties. Not mimosas I made myself, but the pre-bottled mimosa.
Oh, my love.
From the like food basket, the Peoria food basket. I was very classy in college.
Look, when you're in college and you have negative money, you're trying to feel any sort of semblance of luxury. And if that luxury to you is prepackaged mimosas,
juicy. It was lovely. I could
it
walk
had
around.
bubbles, it was effervescent.
It was very absolutely fabulous in my brain. in reality, it was maybe a little tragic, but it's fine.
None of us were rich enough to know the difference, so it was fine.
No, I mean, I was also eating like, Hawaiian bread, and I thought Hawaiian bread and spinach dip was like the classiest appetizer you could possibly bring to a party.
Oh yeah. I love that.
Okay, so she gets Norman back to her house. She is constantly bringing him down a notch through all of this too. But she gets him back to his house. I sort of assume she's going to devour him the same way she did the last man.
Yeah, but she fucks him up.
She fucks him up. There's a pretty harrowing scene where she's running a knife along his body and she gets it right along his nipple. I'm like, oh no, please don't.
Yeah, well, that's also this is also the scene where before she switches out the knife, it's a peacock feather, and she licks the peacock feather, and I was like,
she will lick
what
anything.
Licking?
Like that was in a bird at some point.
Yeah,
but I do love this is
Disgusting.
Some really cool, but this is where like I had a thorough blast with this film, because this is to me the essence of don't have a ton of studio money, do smart cool shots on the cheap, and just use your brain and like use some ingenuity. And so it's this peacock feather sort of like gently touching him, gently touching him, gently touching him, and then it's a knife. Like it's a simple little detail, but I was like, boom, suspense ratcheted up +1 notch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there's
also
Ernest Dickerson. Ernest Dickerson is the cinematographer of this, and Ernest Dickerson had worked on a lot of Spike Lee movies. So he was She's Gotta Have It, School
like
Days, Do the Right Thing, Malcolm X. He did all of those. Mo Better Blues. So Ernest Dickerson's like he
knows
world
exactly
class
what's going on.
Yeah, DOP. So
cool.
There's certain things you can do if you can't afford the budget for set pieces and makeup and special effects. You can certainly find people that want to work on your movie that are uniquely talented. And yeah, I agree with you, Cecil, like creating shots that create scares, creating a pattern, which is really cool.
But Symphony, I want to go back to what you said. He was indeed huffing and puffing.
Yes.
I was like, is she writing him? Is he having he looks cold. Like he has a chill. Like what?
He had cold sweats, and he was like, oh. I was like, oh my
God, Christmas Day, Mr. Ebenezer Scrooge.
He's like, oh baby. I was like, are you going to bust right now? Like, what's happening? I was like, I was like, okay, wait. I was like, which his huffing and puffing like that made me think, I was like, are they doing it? Is that why he's huffing and puffing like that?
I think he's inside her like right now.
Yeah.
Well, gross. Because he was just, I don't know. It was like pathetic in a way. Because you're like, he was like so eager in a way, and she was like, okay, but then she starts fucking slicing and dicing his ass a little bit, but he stays.
Yeah, it's just a little.
Don't move.
Yeah, she like cuts his shoulder, and then so when he wakes up the next morning to get the fuck out, he sees the cut on his shoulder, and he's like, "What am I supposed to tell my?" She's like, "Your wife."
And then her demon voice comes out.
Yeah,
I love it. Like for
whoa.
no reason explanation, she's like, "No, I speak like this." Now, I do think it's kind of amazing that if you're a succubi or an incubi, one of your superpowers is everyone's actual real name and everyone's actual real marital status. Like you tell, like you're like immune to pickup artists because you're like, what Norman, who lives at 476 36th Street.
But his name was Norman, but his wife's name was Norma.
Oh shit! Is
that really?
Yeah.
Catch that?
No, literally, that is what happened. And I was like, huh?
They're like, we're the Normans.
But you know what? They probably that was it. Like when they got together, I can just imagine people being like, "Oh, it's just Norman and Norma."
Oh,
that's
man,
weird.
Yeah,
you're like, Yeah, we're just leaning into it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
Jeffrey, this is where your introduction, I was like, oh, this is the era
Yes.
of AIDS.
yes.
Mhm.
Because she doesn't eat him. She's going to teach him a lesson, and he's got like welts and like claw marks on his back from sexiness, which is pretty normal, sexy, kind of like, oh, I don't want my wife to see a hickey. But by the time he gets down the stairs, he's got like
Yep.
blood clots on his face and
Yeah.
And
neck.
lesions.
Yeah, like lesions. And I was like, oh, okay. This is
And
a
she
time
said-
when, yeah,
She said
Right.
she was like, I'm going to leave you with something that will last a lifetime or last forever
Yeah.
or something. And I was
Mhm.
like, okay, coded,
yeah,
Mhm.
but like not so coded. And
Yep.
then when he got downstairs and saw his face, because when he looked in the mirror initially, he only saw the shoulder thing.
Mhm. It was
And
like it was
then
like an expanded hickey.
Yeah.
Right. But then it must have developed in the time where he got dressed and went downstairs or something. But like he was all like messed up. And I was like, crazy.
Yeah.
And like the thing about AIDS is that like it was, like you were throwing out some numbers before, but it
Yeah.
exploded because of the disinformation. There was no
Yeah.
information. It was, I mean, it's a very complicated disease in general,
Yeah.
but like even the scientists were baffled, but the average person would wake up one morning feeling fine. The next day they felt like they would be covered, like it was this experience of sleeping with the wrong person. Not only will break up your marriage, not only are you a quote bad person for sleeping around, but like it could happen overnight was
Yeah.
like the real tragedy of it.
Yeah. So we're Joel's in New York City. He's come to see his friend Kay. We learned that Joel is just turning 21. He's gonna need a little break from ecumenical studies. Is that the word? Is that the word ecumenical? I don't know.
So
Liturgical.
Sure.
I don't know
I
my
was-
words.
I was too busy looking at Kadeem Hardison's 80s power gray suit.
Uh-huh.
I'm super obsessed with 80s power gray, y'all.
Yeah.
Like it is so, I love it. That like dark gray, where they're like, we're gonna put 3 kinds of grays in a suit.
Mm-hmm.
That was the era. I love it.
Starkness and contrast were so big in the late 80s, especially for boys. Like all the
Big old
nagel
shoulder
prints that every
pads.
25-year-old man had in his apartment hanging above his black leather couch.
Oh,
And black lacquer waterbed frame and all of that. Yeah.
I'm also quite envious of his neon phone.
Yes. The neon.
Oh,
I wanted a neon phone so
me too.
bad. And because it was like neon, but then the rest of it was clear. And
Mhm.
you're just like, oh, how cool. I still want a neon phone.
It's like the
I
Pompidou
don't-
Center.
I don't even have a but I don't even have a landline, so it would
Mhm.
just
I
be
know.
for
Why don't they make
decor.
cell phones like that? I wish somebody would make a cell phone in the style of the old see-through neon phones.
I think you can get a case for
Oh,
your
that's probably
phone
true.
that's
Yeah.
like that.
It's just because it's
'Cause
such
I've s-
expensive technology that they
Yeah.
kind of keep them pretty bland. So
Yeah.
the Temptress hits on Kay at the bar.
First. Yeah.
Yeah, so she starts with him. This is before Joel actually arrives just yet.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's getting in town that night. But yeah, she's really flirting. Like, you look familiar to me. He's like, well, that's because I'm an actor. Oh yes, I've seen you in this movie. Can I get an autograph? It's for my little brother. Blah blah
It's for my
blah.
little brother.
Oh,
You're like, sure.
Uh-huh.
But she gives him like a fantasy about them
Yes.
together.
mm-hmm.
Where she's eating him grapes and she licks that grape.
Licks that grape.
Does.
She
I-
left the string on that banana. That made me so
Oh
mad.
my
Oh my God, I
know,
wrote
I
that
know.
down. I was like, not the string.
not the string.
We need
You gotta
another
shave that
shot.
banana. Just peel it. Just peel it. But Kadeem Hardison's like, nom, 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 nom.
He licks the he was like, blah, blah. I was like, ugh.
Meanwhile, there is legit the Careless Whispers saxophone dude
Literally in their room.
gauzy silhouette right behind. I think this is when I texted you both and said, this is the horniest movie I've ever seen.
Yeah,
It was this scene right here.
yeah.
It was. But he snaps out of it and then she's like, okay, well, he's like, I gotta go, my friend Joel.
Joel.
My friend Joel is coming, and then she kind of like gets weird, and then he turns away and turns back, and she gone.
Yeah,
just disappeared.
So Joel comes into town, and Joel comes into town, and he tells Joel all about this hot lady, like, let's go to a bar.
Yeah.
I love this I love the silly innocence of Joel is so stupid, where Joel's like, well, I don't drink, so could I just get like a milk in a beer stein, and the bartender will slide it down to me like in a New York City bar. And Kay's like, you are a country bumpkin.
It's like, you mean like what they do in Westerns? He's like, no, what just adults do in bars when they slide the beer to you all the way to the bar.
I've never actually seen anyone slide a beer down to anybody, probably because it'll more likely spill or run into something, right?
Yeah.
I think, doesn't it have to be like wet? The bar has to be wet for it to slide down.
I get that Murphy oil out.
Yeah,
we gotta.
I've only ever seen beer being slid down, but I've only ever had drinks in a Coyote Ugly. So
there you go. It's the only bar you'll go to.
It's the only bar I've ever been to.
I also want to bring up the hilarious fashion show that they put on.
Oh, the montage.
My God, oh, fuck yes, 80s fashion. And he comes out with one outfit, like jogging tracksuit, or like like sweatpants, nice button-up shirt, like cardigan. I was like, okay, what?
Yeah.
What? For me, the worst one was the jeans.
Oh, the denim
with the Target
blazer.
top.
Yeah,
it was like a red Target like polo
Uh-huh.
and a brown blazer. I was like, girl, what the fuck? None of that goes together.
I also love how, like, theoretically he's like, he's like going through Kay's closet.
Why does this stuff fit?
Yeah, why does this stuff fit?
He's way taller.
And why is Kay not like being like, no, just leave all of this alone?
Yes,
I'm giving you 3 options.
I think because the style was so baggy then, that probably almost every size was sort of like unisexed, right? So also, there's a scene here where we introduce Chekhov's submachine gun that really never comes back for any significant reason whatsoever.
No. I was like, just keeping a semi-automatic on the mantle, like you do.
Like, fully loaded.
Like, while it's
he's like,
loaded.
I keep it loaded. That's not gun safety.
This is one of those moments where I was like, okay, so maybe all you Barbra Streisands out there, you writer, producer, star, director, actor types, this scene between the two of them, I was like, there is no agency.
Nope.
There was no urgency. There's no bucking. There's no like you could drive a truck through the, like, it's like there's somebody off camera being like, this is your next line. There's no hugs. And wait, what was my next line? Like, these scenes were a little rough between these two. And Kadeem Hardison, 100% charisma. James Bond III, great director. Maybe could have been another actor. Maybe.
Yeah, he maybe needed an assistant director to kind of help him find his scenes sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm also saying dry because I'm like, babe, you could use a moisturizer. This entire movie, I was like, damn, your face looks ghostly weird. It looks weird. Like, put some lotion on your ashy ass face.
I did like his knitwear sweater, that when it's like the next day and they've kind of settled into their routine and they're just like chatting on the, I do love some 80s knitwear, I'm not gonna lie.
You love a sweater though.
I do. I love any kind of knitwear.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go back. So Kay and Joel are gonna go to the bar. We do have these kind of like intercut scenes as Kay is telling Joel about this hot lady he met, talking about like how she's like so like pretty and so innocent and just like the sweetest lady, and it's intercut with her pretty violently killing a gay man. Like
Yeah.
she picks up a gay man at the bar.
Yeah. Because like she was like snacking on him before Kay showed up. So she just kind of gave him her address, was how I read it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he was like
she kind of warned him off from her first, because like the guy from before who had hit on him, he was like, how'd you know that I, whatever. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Maybe he was like bi or like whatever. Maybe he was trying to be like, I'm not really gay, but like whatever. But she was mean as fuck to him.
Yeah.
She was like pushing him around and like slapping him.
Don't touch me.
Don't kiss me. Yeah.
Right. And like pushing him around. And then she like ripped his shit apart. First of all, I think she might have pegged him.
Yes, I think
she definitely
that's absolutely
did.
what happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it. The line's like, where did that come from? I was like,
uh-oh.
Those aren't lady bits.
Mm-mm.
Those came from the hardware store.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was like,
yeah.
Killing him up.
I like the dialogue. It's like perfectly edited because he's like, she's so sweet. She's like, don't touch me. But then by the end, she's like, she's like a kitten, and then she like reaches out, and all of a sudden, like this is the first time we've seen her
furry
transform in any way.
Yeah.
She's like furry wrists and hands and kind of claw hands.
Mm-hmm.
Not the usual gold nails, which she normally sports.
The long gold, like square
tipped.
I was like, Mama, square.
Mm-hmm.
We know this is the 80s. But in the sex scene, she's like in like this garter belt thing, and she's facing away from us. She's like rubbing on, like writhing around on the top. I was like, oh, okay, what the hell?
She's going for that second O-ring inside.
Yeah, she was like just like mean, and then she would like turn over. She was just really mean in that one.
She's a mean lady.
She's a mean lady.
You're a real mean lady. So like if Death by Temptation had Tom Hanks in it somehow, just like wandering. You're a very mean lady.
So later that night, we're back. We get to the bar, right? And at this point, Joel brings the temptress lady over towards Kay and be like, hey, I met this lady. She's so awesome. And Kay is kind of laughing at it like, oh yeah, hey, yeah, we met last night. And she's like, no, I don't remember you at all. You are not familiar at all.
That was bogus as hell. Because like, I don't understand how anybody could be like, oh yeah, I don't know. It's one thing if you dated like months and months before, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, bitch, I saw you like earlier
Last
today,
night.
yesterday,
less than 24 hours ago.
And you're gonna act like you've never seen me before. And they blow the ruse later on, and she's like to him or whatever.
Yeah, she's real scary.
But like, I was like, that's fucked up. If somebody did that to me immediately, I'd be like, this is the lady. I don't know why he didn't
like
say
this
that,
is the one. Yeah. And also you would think Joel, like as country and innocent and rural as he's presented,
right?
Like some things just seem too easy and too good to be true.
Yeah.
I think they actually say this at one point, just like, this seems too good to be true. And she's like, you're right.
Mm-hmm. So they're gonna start dating. They're gonna go out the next day for like they're gonna go up to the cloisters. I don't know. They're maybe check out
the cheesecake.
They're going to the Cheesecake Factory.
That's right.
But I love the choice that it's during the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
To kind of prove like the kind of, because now we're gonna like get real into the like witch hunt, vampire hunt storyline.
Right.
But it's like what a lovely day date. Look at me out in the day.
Sunglasses
and
change.
When she comes over to get him so they can go on their little date, this is when Kareem Hardison, Kay, realizes that this bitch doesn't have a reflection.
Yeah.
And he starts getting real suspicious, not just like she was rebuking, she like rebuffed him or whatever for his friend. Because that's one thing to be jealous of your friend, but then you're like, what the fuck? She doesn't like. That mirror is like huge. It's a full size, full length mirror, and he looks and looks. That was comedic though.
I loved
He
it.
looked at her, looked at the mirror, looked at her, looked at the mirror. And then she was like, she didn't even try and move or nothing. She was like,
No.
what?
Yeah. Like she gets all in his face. She's like, what are you going to say? Oh, gotta go. Bye. I also love the acting on Joel's part, like on James Bond, when he's like, like gesturing to let her through the door, even though there's no person there. Like it's again like the simplest, smartest way to do when you don't have a budget for big old special effects. Just like it's so cleverly edited together. I thought it was amazing. And it's so trauma funny.
Yeah.
That it's like, okay, we're now about midway through the movie, and it's like we're in a vampire flick. And I love Kay's reaction. He's like, I know it. I just saw that, right?
Yeah.
Which is so hilarious.
Absolutely. Which is why it didn't make me feel like too tense or scared for the characters, because there was an amount of levity in it, that because it was like silly a little bit, but like also there was like serious sort of topics. It made me feel like less like, oh my God, this is really gonna be fucked up,
This is not The Addiction.
Right. No, this is a movie that I don't think is taking itself too seriously at all. For whatever parable it has about the AIDS crisis. It's in the movie, but it is not it's not pounding you over the head. It definitely has a sense of humor. It makes it pretty accessible, I think. Well,
and was that just like a half puppet of Ronald Reagan on the TV?
Yeah, like just above and behind the TV.
Was it a puppet? What was it, do you think?
Yeah, I think it was just kind of like I think it was kind of evoking the Phil Collins video, right? Like it wasn't a Sid and Marty Krofft puppet, but it had that vibe to it. It was caricaturish. So
and it definitely changed its face as well.
Oh,
like it had a way more evil smile in the dream sequence than it did normally, I think.
And set up that with the Chekhov submachine gun is that he has props all over his house because he's doing all these independent films. So there is kind of this thing of like, you probably just have a lot of pieces from other movies you've done sitting around your house.
I don't think you're supposed to take props from the set.
But if you're doing independent film, it might be a thing.
You're like, I just own this now.
I don't have a sense that he's doing stuff for Sony. I have a feeling he's doing stuff for his friends in East Flatbush that own a camcorder.
I gotta say, after years of doing the neo-futurists, I ended up with some of the weirdest shit, because it's like, well, I need 12 copper Moscow Mule cups, and I work for a theater company where the budget is $5, so I guess I'm gonna buy these and own these for the rest of my life as soon as this play is over.
You can use those.
I can. I often. I like a little chilled glassware.
Who doesn't? Classy.
So Kay now goes back to the bar. He goes to see Dougie and tells him, like, man, I know that lady, and they start conversing, and Dougie has already made it known, for as much as he hits on every woman that moves in a bar, he will not hit on the temptress because she scares him. And at this point, when Kay tells him about, like, she didn't have a shadow, blah, 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 and Dougie's like, I believe you because I'm a cop who specializes in supernatural cases.
Yeah, I was like,
what?
Oh, what a turn.
And I've been following
like this. I had a little bit of whiplash. I was like, okay, now we're in his like FBI database file. And it was also weird coming off of Perfect Blue, because now we have like a dude with like a screen, and I was like, it's like this line between, like, I was like, cast in a different light, this guy could just be like an internet stalker.
Yeah.
If it wasn't supernatural, like similar elements that like in different recipes kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. But that's what his job is. That's what he does. So now we're going to start working this thing over. And the first thing that they do, like any cop should do, when figuring out what to do next in the cases. They're going to go see a psychic.
Yeah.
And
Is throw out the handbook? Well, first you throw out the handbook.
That's right.
Then you enlist a civilian.
Yes.
Several civilians. Like, he puts that bartender later at risk. So they go see Madame Sonia, who is going to channel. Well, first she's going to kind of like look into her crystal ball sort of thing and divine the truth about this temptress, and that essentially, they never say the word succubus, but essentially she's describing a demon that uses sex to devour human souls, and that something that our morality is being held hostage.
Kill the lightness and the godliness in us and make everything black and dark.
Yeah.
Scary.
The only
she
way
had that lady's number.
Yeah, the only way to defeat it is to remain pure and obedient to God. And then we keep cutting back to Joel and Temptress at the Cheesecake Factory, and she's like, excuse me, I have to go powder my nose. So she goes to the bathroom and then like enters Madame Sonia to scream at Kay and Dougie to be like, if you make war against the beast, you shall not live.
I also love that she's like kind of like a Rumpelstiltskin character. Like, if you say her name, she knows it.
Yeah, she was so upset. She was like, it's
like, and her name is Temptation. What? Am I getting a page? Somebody's paging me.
Her ears start ringing. She's like, God damn it, not again. Yeah, she really jumped into that lady's body, and then they left her. They didn't even check to see if this bitch got out of Madame Sonia. They're like, oh, well, better hightail it out of here. You're like, okay, guys.
Yeah,
really, really good of you.
Yeah, Madame Sonia, like, we unclear what happened at the end of that scene.
Yeah, no one knows.
They're
She's
just like, this is
possessed.
too scary. Let's leave and not pay this woman for her psychic services.
That's right. I also like the dialogue here where Kay asks Madame Sonia before the temptation enters her body. Kay asks, he's like, is there some way to like kill the body? Is there some way to, I forget the phrasing, but it was kind of like a gentle generic phrasing of like, is there some way to like subdue this demon, to like bury the body to make it not come back? And then Dougie is like, yeah, like, could we spray it with holy water, cut off its head, tear out its heart, and bury that heart into hallowed ground? And Kay is like, that is some freaky shit.
Very
it's
specific.
so elaborate. Yes.
You have been thinking about this for a long time.
Way too long.
Okay, let's talk about the grandma's dream of this Cobble Hill bar, or wherever part of Brooklyn we're in. It's a very not specific. Wherein this is really creepy. This is some good, like, gross horror stuff.
Yeah.
She has a dream of Joel in the bar, and it is just men everywhere, like all in different states of decay, death, decomposition, whatever. We see the bartender from the opening scene where he's like, do you want a Bloody Mary? And then he vomits into a cup and hands it forward. It's so Hell House. I love it.
Yeah, that was the scariest part of the whole thing. And you kind of get to see what happened a little bit. I'm assuming that's true because like all of their dreams have been a bit prophetic in a way.
Yeah.
And the thing where she's like the guy Norman, he's like, my wife shot me as soon as I got home.
And he's like shot through the eye. Yeah,
I was like, damn.
Yep.
Damn.
But I love this idea of like the pickup bar of the damned. Because listen, if you've ever spent any time in any major city or any rural, pick a bar. There are times where you're like, this place is like deadbeat city.
Yeah.
Sometimes feels like that.
But the thing that I thought was interesting, I was like, if she was smart and didn't want to like get caught or whatever, she kept going to that same bar. I understand it's probably for the movie, like location wise, but like if she want in New York City, you could go to a million different bars and never be seen again type thing. You know, if you want to pick people up without being apprehended or anyone's suspicion, because this same motherfucker is in here clocking your shit like every day. I guess maybe she doesn't give a shit, but like,
and it's also like she would have noticed Dougie as
noticing
they're both
her
in this bar every single
right.
night.
Yeah. Also, her end goal seems to be to get Joel because he's one of the few pure souls. And I thought, why not just go down to that bar in Raleigh or whatever, like wherever he lived?
Yeah.
I guess she's got to summon him to New York City because if he stays in North Carolina, he's never going to go to a bar. So she's got to get him to come to the bar
On
where his
her
best
ground.
friend hangs out.
Yeah.
So that's the only explanation I can think of is that the whole plan was to get Joel there. And
so she's been waiting at this bar just for him.
Yeah.
He's kind of like a Van Helsing in that way. You know, he's got that like Van Helsing, you know, vampire killer kind of vibe.
So, so now we've got, let's see, hold on. Let me back it up just a second here. Okay. So now we've got, Kay and Joel having this fight, right? Like, because he's essentially now telling him, like, this lady's a murderer, this something ain't right. And you know, Joel's like, I can tell you've been drinking. He's like, yes, but also I'm taking responsibility for you. And so I love this whole time Kay is like sharpening a machete, like on a strop, like cleaning a machete on a strop, being like, all right, well, if you should just get the fuck out of my house, go back home to North Carolina. Dougie and I are going to get busy. See you later.
It's like, where were you going? What I love it when there's like crazy props in a scene that nobody acknowledges.
Yes.
At all. Like the machine gun is one, which is like, you're like, why is that really where you just keep that?
Yeah.
You just have a machete?
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to go out. It's like 6 o'clock in the afternoon.
Also, he sets these up that they are film props. And I'm like, wait, that's a live submachine gun with live ammunition. And you use that as a prop on a film. Right? Okay. All right. Sure. So
pulling an Alec Baldwin.
So Kay calls grandma, get the sense of like, I need you to come up here and save your baby boy. And then he and Dougie's plan is they go, for whatever reason, like assault the bartender in the trash alley instead of just being like, hey, you remember us? I'm a cop.
See us
Here's
every
what
night.
I need you to do.
He talks to that guy all the time. Like, you know that he's married and like he's told you've had conversations. You can just be like, hey man, you know that lady? She's a fucking demon or whatever.
I think they're trying to play up the K as like over the top action actor, like the Steven Seagal, like everything's like kung fu to the nth degree. So he's like too intense. He's trying to play bad cop. But like doing a funny bad job of it. And Dougie's just like, whoa, just take this holy water and roofie that vampire lady.
Yeah.
He did say that she'd be coughing and farting and
I know, right?
And when he said that, I was like, huh?
And sure enough,
she was like,
yeah.
I do love this is like we're in untested territory here. They're like, I don't know, just put this in this woman's drink. It's holy water. Don't worry, we're not asking you to, and just get out because she might explode. We don't know. We've never tried this before.
She's at minimum gonna fart.
Imagine if she's like,
so
I don't even know what it's gonna do.
He puts this in her drink in the most conspicuous way possible.
Oh my god. And he's like shaking as he like puts it down in front of her, like, this one's on the house, ma'am.
And like, she shoots it. She chugs it.
Nope. Saw nothing coming, even though she's like a 3,000-year-old succubi.
Right.
But it's all a trick. She goes into her convulsions as Dougie comes at her with the knife to chop off her head. And she uses telepathic powers to stop that. And they both haul ass out of there. They do the number one thing you should do in a horror movie is split up.
Yep. No plan. Just split right up.
No plan. Kay runs home. Dougie starts running. He commandeers a car as New York
like a Pinto.
PD.
I love it's also like the teeniest, tiniest 80s. It's like late 70s, 80s car. But because you know what people love at like 2:00 in the morning in the middle of New York City, when you just like start screaming at them and jump in the back of their car.
Yes,
Yeah.
they love that. That goes real well. And especially when you say I'm with the police, but you don't ever show a badge.
I think
Not
he did
once.
show a badge.
Oh, he
Like,
did. Okay.
Sort of.
Okay.
Kinda.
But Karima, okay, can we talk about the fact that like Kay, what he was like, my car is missing. It's a Peugeot.
Like
And that
like
never came up again.
Like she controls all of the city. It's kind of like New York City is so evil that she could just make shit happen. But it is kind of ridiculous. They're like, "Where's my car?" They're like, "Dude, where is your car?"
80 Peugeot. I was like, a Peugeot, mama.
So he has to take the G train home.
Yep.
And back at his house, he hears a voice, grabs a kitchen knife, steps into the living room. I love this. This is such a creative, fun, grotesque, David Cronenberg-y sort of scare here. And he comes into the living room, and the voice talking to him is himself on his television. It's a little
like, I got the machine gun now.
Yep. And he's like, come on, come in, come on in. Come after me.
Which if anything on the TV, if I'm on the TV and I'm looking at the TV and it's not like something I'm in, I'm going to be like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Like,
out the door.
My next
out
move
the
is
window even.
And walk crash.
Just through the fucking window. It's also like, I got to say, this is like a little tidbit that made it even creepier is that it's him with a knife looking at him with a machine gun, and he's like really smiley, but it's in voiceover.
Yes.
So it's like you hear the inner monologue of evil him in the TV, which is like in one more disconnect from reality. I love it.
Because it's not him like he's because it's like almost like overlaid. It's like, hey, come out. And I was like, oh no, I don't like that. It was like weird. But either way, I was like, I gotta get out of here.
Like, we have to move now.
Yeah. That's when you unplug the TV and walk out the door.
Yep.
You're like, I am sleeping at Port Authority this evening because it's probably safer than this.
Burn that down. Burn the building down.
The giant teeth on the screen grab Kay, bite down, and then like chew him through the TV's screen.
Yeah.
And as he gets pulled fully in, we see the big Ronald Reagan puppet like giggling and bouncing around, very clown-like. And then we get the big burp, and we just see literally this is ground beef and cranberry juice.
It's like
thrown across the floor. It's ground
and a machete.
And a machete.
And a couple of sausages in there too.
Italian
links.
sausage.
Links. and the knife. Clean.
And the knife. Yeah.
Clean. Clean knife.
Yep.
All that blood, but just spotless.
Yep.
Spotless knife. But it was that part, I was like, oh, it was satisfying in a way.
It really was.
It was giving me like it's something I liked about this movie is like it was giving me big 80s movie vibes. Like I feel like there's like a Freddy, like a Nightmare on Elm Street.
They do that with the face pressed against the wall.
Pressing through yeah.
Like trying to break into our reality kind of shit.
Yeah. And when the face comes like is rubbery on the TV and stuff, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. And those scenes, those cuts were awesome. I like that.
And I love these two characters, like that's all we hear from them, and we get a whole bunch of, our kind of climax, but it leaves it in a very open-ended, like we kind of forget. We're like, oh, okay, we know Dougie got into a car with the succubus in Drag King drag,
right?
And Kay gets sucked into the TV, but it just kind of leaves it at that until like the stinger at the end.
Yeah. I was like, oh, really sad. I was like, oh, I love Graham Harrison. Like, that's so sad. I didn't want him to die. Like, I liked his character. I was hoping he would come out in the end and be like fine. But the stinger was nice at the end. I like that.
Well, I thought he would show up with the machine gun, like Chekhov's machine gun that we so carefully introduced in the first reel.
Yeah.
Right.
Like he would be busting up to save Joel kind of thing. I like the way it went though. I think it's very clever.
Yeah, if you're gonna kill off the most likable character in the movie, like you want them to have the noble, creative, or good death, right? You know?
Yeah.
It was quite creative.
It was very creative. I loved it.
It was.
Joel's at the Temptress's place. Now her white and blue duvet top is now everything is red.
I was like, okay, you don't suspect anything? Anything? Nothing seems amiss.
No.
The fact that she doesn't have a toilet.
No.
She
the fact that she has a 45
pantry.
She has a 4,500 square foot mansion, and she lives like she has a studio apartment in one of the rooms. That's basically it. Yeah.
Like she's like one raccoon away from Grey Gardens.
Yeah.
It was very much giving reminiscent of like Interview with the Vampire when they are living like that happens with vampires in nests sometimes. And they like just like live, there's like shit just kind of everywhere, but they'll be like living kind of in like one particular area, and you're like, oh, this is kind of,
it's a nest.
Gross and sad. It's a nest. It literally is a nest, and that's her nest, is that ratchet bed.
Yeah. So he won't drink the wine because he doesn't drink. So she chugs it and then kisses him. So like basically
shotguns it in his mouth.
Shotguns it in his mouth.
Huffs the wine. Like they're huffing box wine or something.
Back and forth forever.
Oh, that's right.
Like you could just like smell the fumes coming off of this wine, which is really just like food dye.
That was the cheapest looking wine. Ugh.
It was clear.
It looks very red.
Yeah.
Plus side, it looks very good on camera. Negative side, anyone who has ever seen wine ever knows that's not wine.
Yep.
You could have just poured wine.
You could just pour a fucking glass of wine.
Well, it looks like a Negroni. Like that's what she should have said. Here, I have pre-made Negronis.
This cranberry vodka stinger.
This came out of a can.
So he passes out.
Mm-hmm.
And then
she laughs maniacally.
Yeah. And like, does she do this in like deep voice? Like,
Cynthia Bond. So like, she is all over the map. She's like, oh, good.
Cynthia Bond, New York Times best-selling author. She became a writer after this. What? So her book Ruby was her debut novel, made Oprah's book club.
What?
Yeah, so check out Cynthia Bond's work.
Wait, is the succubus lady married to James Bond?
I wonder.
Oh, that's a good question.
And that's why he was allowed to kiss her, because
and that's probably, as you so astutely noted, Jeffrey, a lot of male nudity. No, like female nudity is suggested, but like no female nudity. So you know that her contract was tight. She's like, I will do this role. I will not be showing my tits in this.
Yeah.
And she didn't really kiss anybody. She really didn't kiss anybody else.
Well, she's not. Hopefully, she's not related.
Well, she did kiss that
Joel,
bartender up in the blood shower.
She kisses a few people. She kisses Joel, so they're not related. Yeah. Hopefully,
when she's not licking.
I thought they were married. I thought they were like.
No.
I don't. The last name Bond. So
I don't. I'm not seeing anything about that. I think that just could be a coincidence. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that's true.
How interesting.
But she, so Cynthia Bond, best-selling author, go check her work out. But so Joel wakes up and he's lying next to her, but he is in his childhood bedroom. Mm-hmm. And this is when we get Sam Jackson returns.
Oh, I didn't grok that. Oh.
Yeah, he's in his childhood bedroom. So we're in this like dream, liminal state between reality and
that
past
just blew my mind a little
whatever.
bit.
And this is when Minister Garth or whatever his name is, Sam Jackson comes in, his dad. starts calling
Fornication.
You're a sinner and a fornicator.
You're like,
Fornicating in my house.
I was like, can I just, hi, Dad. I just want a hug. Haven't. And I love it. He's like, aren't you supposed to be dead?
Yeah, yeah. Well, he is starting to come to. Joel is starting to finally become aware of what's really happening. He's like, you're not really my dad. And of course, Sam Jackson turns back into the Temptress, whose face is now starting to turn a little more demonic and less pretty lady.
No, listen. It's like there's a fulcrum here. There's like a
Yes.
there's like a spectrum, and she's normally at like a beautiful human 0.
Yeah.
But then like she kind of gets this like, oh, and it's like super awesome. It's like super harsh lights with like green, and she's got big teeth, super scary, very Lair of the White Worm kind of like, it's all teeth and acting.
Yeah.
However, in about 3 minutes, she's going to pass that into goldfish eye,
Yeah,
bug
the bubble eye.
Maybe not so scary. Maybe God Monster of India Flats, if you remember that movie, Jeffrey.
Yep.
In which you're like, you just look like the poop emoji.
Yeah. Yeah.
With big like one eye's going this way, one eye's going that way, like ping pong ball eyes, you know.
I thought she looked like an angler fish.
Yes.
Yeah, she's very aquatic looking. I was thinking Dagon, the movie Dagon, like there's
Dagon.
something.
Yeah.
So I think there's like,
I was like, Will?
Like you have to like know when to pull back, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
And the Google eyes, maybe not the pièce de résistance.
No, maybe not. But also, Grandma bursts in and gets her ass flung across the room.
Oh, man.
And then
I wrote Grandma to the rescue.
I kind of wanted Grandma to like have like the machete, or like I wanted like Grandma.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Like he was like Grandma with the Bible. Okay, great, that makes sense, Grandma. But it would be. I kind of wanted that like I kick ass for the Lord moment from
Cecil. She came in with the power of the Lord.
With the Lord, she was on the Greyhound bus for 14 hours to get to her son from North Carolina to New York City. And she was just like vibrating with holiness the entire time.
She starts getting choked out by Temptress.
Yeah.
And all she can mutter is basically like, the word is your weapon. Some variation on that. I didn't write it down, but like the word, his dad had told him, that the power is in the word and the knowledge of that is your weapon. She says some variation of that. And so Joel is like, it's between you and me, motherfucker, only not as tough.
Yes.
In a very soft way.
Yeah.
Very soft boy way. But why did it take him forever?
Oh my God, Symphony.
He's so passive.
It was him like looking at his grandma being choked by this bitch. Then he's looking at the Bible and the cross. Then he's like shivering in his fucking boots. And then he looks back at the Bible, having memories. I'm like, girl, get it together.
No, you're
not.
She
she like breaks his wrist. Okay.
Yeah.
So owie.
Mm-hmm.
But for real, all he has to do is crawl over the bed and grab the Bible. And he is like, the acting is all in the wrong place. Like he's like, it's like his legs are asleep, but this like bone sticking out of his wrist is like totally normal, and he's like putting his full weight on it. I'm like, okay, just be like, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, but the God, amen. Oof.
You're not penitent, you're just lazy, right? That's just what's happening here.
It's just he's a little shell shot.
Yeah. Well, he holds up the cross. Demon, I rebuke you to the pit of hell from whence you came. And she freaks out, mutates more, and then explodes.
It is like elk jaws and garbage bags filled with corn.
Yeah, it's like when a pumpkin rots. But it's never been cut. Cut, and then it's like little bit. and then it's like so it like kind of implodes in a way, because like it was like there was typhus, and
there
then
were definitely like jaw. There was some jaw in there as well.
but then there was like some other sort of random viscera and a general outline of a head, but it looked like it had been stomped on.
It's like when the squirrels get into the jack-o'-lanterns a week after
Yes.
Halloween.
Yes. It's like just like
It's like, this is a squirrel house now.
So
my
he and
God.
Grandma hug it out because
So
the
good.
day is won. And then our epilogue is seeing Demon Dougie and Demon K showing back up at the bar again. And
I love this.
I do too.
This is such
I like that part too.
Because it's like, okay, we've, he's this Van Helsing character, so he killed her, right? But the psychic said you can't kill evil. So of course she just pays it forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
and that's how you create an incubus.
Yeah,
and I love the
of
duality of like gender there, that it's like, no, this is evil with a capital E. Boy, girl don't matter.
Yeah,
Gay,
Madame
straight.
Sonia says its pronouns are it, basically. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. So yeah, I love that. And so now you have like sexy lady bartender lighting Dougie's cigarette, and he says the same line that happens in the opening when she tells the bartender at the beginning.
Use a lighter. It will last longer. I was like, huh?
What?
How long do you need this to last?
Yeah,
I know, just to light the cigarette.
Just like, yeah. Thank you.
And then voiceover from Joel at the end being like, I'm almost certain we'll somehow meet again. Joel, just chill out. Just go finish your seminary degree. Get a job at some church in Omaha. It'll be great. You're going to have a nice time. Have kids.
Is there Death by Temptation too?
Oh, God,
there might be. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Duh.
Duh. That's the end of this film. Shall we rate it?
Yeah.
Yes, let's.
All right. So Sasha scale, squeamish approachability scale for the horror averse, which is on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least approachable, that you probably don't want to go near if you aren't sure about horror films, and 10 being like super approachable. It's for everyone. I would give this one's a tough one. I'll give like Death by Temptation like 5 sets of red sateen sheets out of 10. Like, it's super gory, but like in a really silly way. Like, the gore doesn't feel that realistic, but it is gross. So I'll give it that. Like, ground beef and cranberry juice is gross when it's depicting blood and guts.
Like at one point in the bar in hell, somebody just holds up like the gnawed off like stump of an arm.
But
it like it barely looks real. Like it barely looks like it's even the same person.
It's so tough because it is like, we watched the documentary Hell House for this show, and it does feel a little bit like churchy haunted house, this movie. About its depiction of, overt sexuality, gayness, AIDS, whatever, just temptation in general. As in, listen, I understand where we were in the 90s of like, you guys, we got to dial shit back a lot. We got to figure, nobody's telling us what's going on, so we're going to have to figure this out for ourselves. So I think that's where this movie's heart is. But it is a little bit like, if you're having sex, you're just creating a bad world for everyone. It kind of comes across in 2023 like that. I don't think that's what it's trying to do, but so it does feel a little churchy at times, which might make this way more accessible. But also, like, that knife running next to the nipple, even though it doesn't get cut off, is enough to like, that's horror in and of itself, very effective. And also a pretty intense rape scene of that man. That's a real intense.
Oh yeah,
like an Oz level rape scene.
It's pretty intense. So know all of that, but I'm just gonna set this square in the middle of the scale, 5 out of 10 for approachability. Cecil, what about you as a horror film?
This was awfully fun.
It was
like this was like very much an era of filmmaking that I really love and respect. The like, make your own damn movie trauma. Like, do you have an idea? Just go shoot it. Do you have friends? They're your actors. They're your DP. They're your costumers. Do you have an apartment? That's your set. And I like really love and respect that style of filmmaking. I think this movie is so funny. It does have some message to it, but I didn't feel hit over the head with the like, and I didn't even think it was that much like, if you have sex, you're destroyed. It's like, if you have sex, beware, because there's some freakazoids out there. Was kind of more the message.
Yeah.
If there was one. I think it was just a fun romp in a lot of ways, and it was silly and fun, and I had a good time. So for that, I'm going to give 7 out of 10 holy water roofies.
Symphony, what about you?
I thought this movie was really fun as well. There's just enough cheese and cringe in it, and so many different 80s sort of tropes that it keeps it amusing for me and light enough where I'm not going to be scared. So I think I would give this also 7 out of 10 freakazoids.
Well, let's figure out what we're gonna watch next. Cecil, you got a scare die. I have a style die. We'll see what movie matches the two things we roll. So if you roll a 1, our next scare is technology. 2, a vampire. 3, a ghost. 4, creepy children. 5, an aquatic scare, or 6, wild card, whatever scare we want.
That's a 6.
Finally got that wild card. That's been there for a
wild
while.
card.
All right, so we can pick whatever style, whatever horror movie we want to this style. If I roll a 1, our style is giallo. 2, action fantasy, something a little off the horror path. 3, 1970s. 4, a day scare. 5, something rural. And 6, Japanese horror. So let's see, what do we got? I got a 2, action fantasy horror movie. That is a wild card, whatever the F we want.
Okay. I'm just having to look if I want to like lock in my vote or if I want to change any of my votes right now.
You want me to start with I'll start with mine.
You talk about your choices. I might do a little last minute swappy swap.
Yeah. Okay, so one I have on here is Dark City, which is I think it's like from 98 or 99 maybe. But yeah, it's sci-fi dystopian reality bending thriller. I think Rufus Sewell plays the lead in it. It's super creepy. It has one of the greatest horror monsters of all time, which is Men Who Are Too Long. I think the year
in
this
black
came
coats.
In black coats. I think Roger Ebert named this as his best film of the year that it came out. I remember thinking I'd seen it early in the year. Nobody talked about it. It was a movie everyone slept on at the end of the year. It was one of the first times I felt vindicated by a critic when Roger Ebert was like, that movie is great. Like, thank you, Roger. So that's one I have on here. Another one is a movie I've seen a billion times, but we haven't talked about it on the show, is Aliens, James Cameron's Aliens.
Oh, so good.
It's such a good action film. It's so scary. It's so much fun. It is in so many ways like the template for like a great shoot 'em up action horror film. And then another one that I put on here is a movie I was trying to get at least one I have not seen on here, which is Prey. It's a movie from 21 or 22, a couple years ago. But this is in the Predator cinematic universe, but it has the great premise of what if Predator, but doesn't come down at present time. Predator comes down 1700s or 17th century First Nations American continent, I believe, is where this is set. So I love that. I love that concept. I love that principle. I haven't seen this movie. It looks really action-packed.
You've not seen it?
I haven't seen it yet.
Ooh, it's a good one.
Yeah. So those are the 3 I put on here. I could go many different directions, but those are the 3 I had. What do you got, Cecil?
Okay, so I under action fantasy, I put the first one was The Crow.
Never seen it.
Oh,
I've never seen it. Yeah.
It's been a minute since I actually I think during the pandemic I started listening to the soundtrack to The Crow, but I didn't actually watch the movie. I just got back into a lot of Stone Temple Pilots for some reason. So I'm kind of curious to look at this again through 2023 eyes. I also have a movie called Life Force, which is about a American British astronauts that encounter a spacecraft filled with space vampires.
Oh, yes.
That is kind of amazing and campy and fun, but very 80s technology, lots of bleeps and bloops kind of technology. And then finally we have Darkman, which was Liam Neeson as this kind of
forgotten about this movie.
superhero / anti-hero who's allergic to the light, but Danny Elfman soundtrack. I think it kind of got panned and it didn't do well in the shadow of, Tim Burton's Batman. But I really want to take another look at it. It's been 20 odd years. 30.
I think I may have seen this one. I may have seen this when I was 15 years old when this came out. This looks so familiar, but I don't remember the storyline.
But I remember it being very anti-hero, which was a hard sell in the 90s. We didn't want anti-heroes. We wanted heroes.
And Sam Raimi. God bless Sam Raimi.
Oh, that's Sam Raimi. Yeah.
Those are some. We have 6 really good ones. Symphony. 2 things. So 2 questions for you. One, do you have another movie that you think should be added to this list? Would you have one that you're no, this has to supersede these 6 because I know the answer?
No,
Or do you have one of these 6? Because I think ultimately, if you got one of these 6 that you're I think you should do that, I will absolutely weigh your vote over ours.
Did you say you've never seen Aliens?
I have. I've seen it a million times.
You have seen it.
I've not seen Prey. I've not seen The Crow. Never seen Life Force. And I think I saw Darkman. Darkman.
Darkman. I would say, but you have seen Dark City though.
I have seen Dark City. Yeah.
Okay, because that movie is amazing. I love that movie.
And see, I have not seen that movie in 30 years. No, I've seen it,
but
it's been so long that it's going to be like watching it anew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I think you guys you should go for something you probably haven't seen. I always go for that. So
Cecil, you've seen Life Force?
I have seen Life Force.
You've seen all of these movies, but
I think I have seen all of these.
Dark
City is the one that it's I know I've seen it, but I can't remember it. So it's going to be like watching it, kind of like you and Darkman.
Yeah. And Dark City, I haven't seen in ages. I remember bits and pieces of it, but
Dark City is such a good movie. I think it's a fun watch because you're like, ooh, and it's spooky. I love things that are future, but kind of mind bendy sort of things.
Yeah.
I remember it had that retro future film noir, but set in technology thing, which I don't think we've really done anything like that on the show before.
Well, sounds like we're narrowing in on Dark City. Let's do that.
Great.
Hold on 2 seconds. I'm just gonna before
make sure
I say
it is
anything
available.
It is great.
Woohoo!
Okay, so we're gonna do Dark City. Thank you all for listening.
Nice.
Thank you, Cecil, for talking with me, and thank you, Symphony Sanders, for joining us once again. Symphony, where can people find you and your work in this world?
Oh, just on the internet where I exist most of the time. You can find me on TikTok or Instagram, even on Threads these days. All at Symphony Sanders, or you can listen to any one of my podcasts, but especially with my favorite to trios for Good Morning Night Vale, where we talk about this little show. I don't know if you've heard it before, called Welcome to Night Vale, which I'm also on.
Is that the one with Joe Rogan? Is that the one with Joe Rogan?
He's the main character.
Great.
And my best friend.
That's awesome. If y'all have thoughts on Death by Temptation or ideas for what movie would you have gone with in your wild card of action fantasy horror movie, let us know on Twitter or over on Instagram, maybe someday on Threads. Who knows where things are going at Random Horror 9. And watch Dark City from 1998 with us this week, and come on back next Tuesday for a new episode. Have a restful night with no one quoting Cameo lyrics to you at the bar or nothing. Or maybe you do want that. Boo.
Ow.
Ow.